she'll introduce and go from there.
Thank you so much to Delia for inviting us out to be a part of your wonderful day. It's a beautiful day, beautiful summer day. Who we are the CreeLand dancers, and we're an Indigenous dance company that comes from the Erie's and Oklahoma Cree Nation. This year, 2024, is 40 years of our dance company. 40 years of my Kukum and my late Mishon's legacy. And we're really proud of that. We're proud of that, to carry on those traditions. And, you know, it's an honor to be here in this space because we're amongst, you know, our Kipea, our elders and our knowledge keepers of your community. And to us, that's very important because how we know how to dance, myself, my cousin Shayla, and many of these other dancers here is because of our elders. Because of our Kukums and our Mishons. And see, our dance company was founded by my Kukum, Therese Sisiquesis, and my late Mishon, Ken Sisiquesis. And they founded this dance company in 1984 because they wanted to be able to provide a safe space for the youth to participate in cultural activities and get an opportunity to visit other communities, but also be able to do something that was safe and something that was able to honor them. And so my Kukum and my late Mishon are residential school survivors that both attended St. Michael's Indian Residential School in Duck Lake. Both attended at the same time, never met each other until years later when they were adults, and we met at a Métis kitchen party where people would gather in the community, bring the fiddle, and they would dance. And so that's where my Kukum and my late Mishon met. And they married, they had children, and they decided to go back to the residential school and work there. My Mishon worked in carpentry and agriculture, and my Kukum worked as a laundress and a seamstress. And why they chose to go back and seek employment in the institution, but I tried to take their identity from them, was because they wanted to be a safe space for the youth there. They wanted to be somebody that could be able to provide love, affection, hugs, understanding to young people in the school. And while there, they decided to form this dance company. And they started training young people how to do Métis jigging, traditional Métis dances, and square dancing, as well as old-time dances. And why they did this was because they knew it was important to share culture. They knew it was important to find healthy ways to spend time together in the community and with young people. And they trained over 170 dancers, almost 180 dancers, my Kukum and my late Mishon trained. And they brought dancers all over Turtle Island, all over Canada, all over the US. And what they were doing was something so powerful because they were making space for Indigenous ways of knowing, making space for culture and identity. And my Kukum, she comes from the flurries of the Tosh. And she's the great-great-granddaughter of Patrice Fleury Sr., who was a very well-known buffalo hunter amongst the Métis Nation. And so with her Métis heritage and her Cree identity, she used that and created this space, this dance company, where we share a dance style that, of course, was born out of the Métis Nation, but it belongs to many cultures. Because Métis people come from First Nations people. And our dance styles are represented within that jig. And that jig represents how we have kinship and culture amongst each other. You know, my Kukum identifies as both a Michif woman and a Cree woman. And she made sure that myself and my cousin and any of the dancers in the dance company were always proud of their identity. And she took dancers to places where they had never been this type of dance exposure before. She was able to, alongside my late Mishon, they were able to visit Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and they brought the dancers to Dolly Parton, country music singer Dolly Parton. She has a theme park over there called Dollywood. And so in the 90s, my Kukum and Mishon were bringing Indigenous culture into spaces where it never had been before. And so when we come into this space and we see our elders and our knowledge makers, it makes us feel good because this is where it started for us. was our kukums and our mushrooms, teaching us how to jig, teaching us how to dance, taking us to old-time dances, making kitchen parties, bringing us to safe spaces where we could participate in culture. So we're honored to be here today to share some dancing with you all, to honor you and to honor ourselves and to honor our founders. You know, our kukum, our founder, she's still with us. In May she turned 94 years old. So 2024 is a beautiful year because our founder's 94, she's still healthy and alive, she comes to our shows still when she can. And our dance company is 40 years old, and that's 40 years of kukum and mushroom dedicating themselves to community and to youth. And so before we begin, I want to introduce the dancers that we do have with us because although the dance company does come from Beardy's and Oklahoma Creation, our dancers come from many communities. We have with us here today 8 dancers, but our dance company, we have about 15 active dancers, and like I mentioned, from different First Nations and Métis communities across the province. So we have with us Desiree Peterson, she's from the James Smith Cree Nation. We have Shayla Mike from the Beardy's and Oklahoma Cree Nation. Angel Hosmer from the Muscatine Cree Nation. Davian Gardaky from the Beardy's and Oklahoma Cree Nation. Alana Joe, she's from Pelican Narrows. Timothy Linklater from Pelican Narrows. Kayla Montreal from the Pine House Métis community. And Ray Eisbister from the Akankaku Cree Nation. And we are the CreeLand dancers. So the dancers are going to get warmed up and start with one of the more popular dances that you see amongst jigging, which is the regular jig, and it's typically a competitive style dance. Dancers will show off their fancy footwork. A lot of times we'll host jigging competitions. What we want to do is just do a quick showcase to warm up for you and demonstrate each of the dancers' favorite step. And we encourage you, if you like what you see, clap, cheer, because when you have a good time, the dancers have a good time. And we always feel that it's a good energy exchange in a space where we can share dancing together. So with that, we'll get started with 8 changes. river jig a little bit later in the show where the dancers will team up and show you some other fancy footwork. But you know, that dance right there is, you know, something that is usually a competitive one. And I know this weekend is back to Batoche days, and there'll be a big Red River Jig competition happening out there, and you'll see some of the best jiggers from all of the prairie provinces. But you know what? You get to see some of the very best jiggers right here today. You know, there's many dancers in this dance company, and they have experience ranging from, you know, not quite a year all the way to over 35 years of dance experience. Myself and my cousin Shayla have been dancing for over 35 years. We started off in what was called the Toe Tappers, which was a young group that my Kukum and Misham had started. When my Kukum and my late Misham were the managers of the dance company, and I would say we were very exceptional at what they did. They were able to manage 3 dance companies. They managed an adult dance company, teenagers, and young ones, which is where myself and Shayla started, which was the Toe Tappers. And we were about 5 years old when we started touring around and performing, going to jamborees and festivals. But what we did was we were competitive dancers, and that was what our Kukum and Misham had trained us for. And we used to practice daily as children and teenagers, and we competed in different competitions here. Batoche days used to have a competition. I know this year they have one, but they used to have a competition every year, as well as the Prince Albert Métis Fall Festival. And so the dancers would compete every year, and the CreeLand dancers would enter in 3 categories. There would always be the children, the teenagers, and the adults. And typically every year would be champions in all 3 of those categories. And held that title for almost 2 decades until 2012, I believe, is when we decided to retire from that circuit of competition dancing and move more into a space of just providing entertainment, but also culture and education awareness. Because not only do we come into spaces like this and provide entertainment, but we quite often do a lot of educational workshops and dance instructions, because we visit a lot of places that are non-First Nations communities and non-Métis communities. We do a lot of work with our settler and our newcomer community, and we teach them about what is this dance style, and why do we dance it, and where does it come from, and why is it so important. And why we started doing this is I was put in the place to carry on the role of leader of this dance company when we lost our Musham 7 years ago, our founder, Kim. And so, as the granddaughter and somebody who had danced since I was little, I was asked to carry on that role. And so, something I was asked at an event was, if you are First Nations, if you're Cree, why do you dance the Métis jig? And I thought, well, that's a good question. Why? And the reason why is because, well, the origins of where the Métis jig comes from, right? Métis people. The Métis people come from those descendants of First Nations European settlers, and those early relationships where they shared parts of their culture with each other. And so, of course, we all know that, unfortunately, we've had to live under the Indian Act, which is an archaic and discriminatory policy. But in 1885, it banned our ceremonies. We weren't allowed to have our drum. And so the Métis people said, come and dance to our fiddle. We'll share with you. And so that's why the fiddle and Métis jigging is so important, not only in Métis community, but First Nations community as well, because our relatives brought us into that space and allowed us to have a place that was safe to dance. And over time, we've adopted it as our part of our culture, our tradition, our heritage, because we also have to understand that because Métis people come from First Nations people, those are also our relatives, and we all share that culture and that dance style. And so it became important for us to make sure we shared that. We shared the importance of why we do this dance and why we have to continue to have these types of dances and promote healthy lifestyle. You know, that's one of the things I was really important to my cooking and my late mission was to have safe, sober ways to have community events and to have fun. And that was always really important to them. They brought teenagers from many communities on the road all the time to promote dancing, to promote having a positive outlook and identity about themselves, being connected to culture, visiting community, but having a sober lifestyle and being respectful to others. And that was a big part of what my mission did. And so it's always, important that we share dance too, and we share where it comes from and why it's important. So I know the dancers probably are ready to go for another performance. This one we're going to slow it down just a little bit. We're going to show you it's kind of like a slower footstep. We call it the first change. It's also called a two-step. But what we'll do is we'll do a dance that is a square dance. Because that's a lot of what we do is we do square dancing, but we infuse that Yankee jiggy style into there as well. And we have our fiddler. She's just queuing up her fiddle. That's the handy thing about technology. You have so many fiddle songs right at your fingertips on your cell phone. So that's why I say that she's queuing up her fiddle, because that's our fiddle for today. Performed to the tune Maple Sugar. But my arm was tired from fiddling, so I had to end that one a little bit short there. So now we're going to get a little bit faster and do another square dance. This dance that the dancers are going to perform is a traditional Métis dance. And this was one that was taught to us from my kukum, Ray, our founder, because as I mentioned, she comes from the Fleury family of the Tosh. And this dance was something that her chapan would perform and the community would perform after such things as a successful buffalo hunt or a wedding, because it was a celebration dance. And because my kukum is Michif, which is French Cree, it has French origin, so the dance is called La Danse de Crochet, which is the crochet dance. And what you see as dancers, oh wait, I skipped ahead, we're not doing that dance. We're going to do that one a little bit later. This one we're going to do is a traditional Métis dance as well. But this one has a symbol in it that's important to the Métis Nation. But it's important too when I talked about that relationship building, right? Because it's the infinity symbol. As the dancers are dancing, they're going to be weaving through each other, creating that infinity symbol. And what that infinity symbol represented was that meeting of two nations. You know, the First Nations people, European settlers, how they were going to have a relationship together, a union that would last forever. And so when we perform this dance, that's what we recognize, is, you know, that relationship, relationship between each other, regardless of our tribal affiliation, regardless of our cultural identity. We all belong, and we all, should have the same mutual respect for each other. And that's important when we come from different communities, different worldviews, different cultural beliefs, spiritual, religious, that we recognize we all belong and we have connections to each other. And that's what that dance and that symbol recognizes, is connection to each other, regardless of our beliefs, that we should have a good relationship with each other, a reciprocal one. And so we'll get the dancers to get started for what we call the infinity symbol dance. Some people call it the pickup dance, but it is a dance that is a traditional one, symbolizing that cultural connection. I also wanted to highlight something. We have some two young dancers with us that I want to acknowledge that they both had, an achievement and a milestone this June when they both graduated high school. And that's really important to acknowledge, because we know as First Nations people, our education system hasn't been one that has been wholesome for us. As those that come from families and communities where residential schools directly impacted us, it's a beautiful thing when we can see our young people graduate high school. And so we want to honor Davian Garterkey and Desiree Peterson. If you guys just want to wave, Davian and Desiree, both graduated high school. It's kind of important to that wonderful achievement. They both joined us this year in 2024, dancing with us. Wonderful addition. Davian danced with us a few years ago. He retired. Desiree joined us in the winter, and we're just really happy to have them with us and proud of them for making that achievement. And for doing something that's healthy and wholesome and that gives back to the community. that Métis jigging is a healing dance. Because when you're in the presence of dancing, you clap, you cheer, you smile, you laugh, you have a good time. And the dancers out there, I'm not sure if you noticed, but while they're performing, they're most often laughing and giggling and smiling and having a good time out there. It's an energy exchange, and we feel that when you're in that space, it's healing for us. And that's important. That's something that we need in our communities. When we think about that legacy, what I mentioned, residential schools, living under the Indian Act, broken treaty promises. It's important to have things that give us good energy, cultural activities that give us that sense of hope and identity. And so we're always happy to be able to come into these spaces and share our love for dance and the gift of dance, because it's important. We not only dance for ourselves, but we dance for those who can't. And when we dance, we're always thinking good thoughts and good energy for ourselves, for those we dance with, but for the community that we visit and the community members. Because it truly is an honor, after 40 years, for this dance company to still be invited into spaces and to share that beautiful legacy of our kukum and our leibusha that they gifted us. Because as I mentioned earlier, our kiteya, our elders, our knowledge keepers, and they're the libraries of our communities and our families. And it's important to have spaces like this where we honor them. And we're happy to be here to dance for you, to honor you. And I hope that you can feel that good energy from these dancers. Because for many of them, they've been dancing their whole lives. Some of them are new to the circle. But what's really important about it is that dance is healing and it's good energy, and it brings so many people together. And that's what my kukum and my leibusha wanted. They wanted to be able to bring community together. That was always the most important thing. It was always important when myself and my cousin Shayla were growing up. We always visited, the elders, senior citizens. It was something that we did at least once a month. We would visit a different senior citizen home in the province, and we would dance for our elderly. And that was always really important. I made sure we did that we gave back all the time to those that provided so much for us. And so we're just happy to be here to dance for you all today. And we hope that we're sharing some of that good energy and that healing energy with you all. And we hope that when you leave today and you go back home, that you feel uplifted knowing that there are dancers out there, not just us, but many others who dance for the people because we love it and we know it's good energy and we know it's healing. And so I think the dancers have a dance performance that they're going to do. They're going to perform a square dance that our dance company had created back in 2011 when we were invited to the community of one of our dancers. One of our dancers, who's since retired, came from Moose Factory Cree Nation and the Moosonee Cree of Ontario. So what we did when we visited that community, they invited us out to festivals there called Cree Fest and Gathering of Our People. And we were just honored to be able to be invited into that space. It's a beautiful community. So what we did is we created a square dance in honor of them called Moosonee. And so the dancers are going to perform it. And so what we're going to have is we're going to have our 6 senior dancers who've been dancing for many years, some even decades, perform this dance. We're going to have our new additions to the dance company sit out, and it's only because they're still learning this dance. And so we're going to have 3 couples perform this dance, which is called Moosonee. And so it's a dance that is high energy, fast paced, a lot of twirls, but it's a really fun performance. And like I mentioned earlier, if you enjoy what you see, clap, cheer, because when you have a good time, these dancers have a good time. And as mentioned earlier, you're welcome to take photos and visit videos of the dancers. We're always open to that. Curtis is giving out gravy shots to the dancers to hydrate them. Your photographer is actually a former CreeLand dancer. Yeah, let's give a round of applause to Curtis. So Curtis would have been part of the first dance group probably those earlier years, eh? He's like, I'm not that old. What do you mean? But yeah, see, there's many communities that we visit, and you'll be a dancer from that community, and which is, shows that reach of my Montreal, and it was because where that dance company had started was when they were employed with the residential school, and as mentioned, they wanted to continue to be that safe space, so they were sharing dance with individuals from many communities, and often those former dancers are in different positions of leadership or coordinating programs in their community, and they always come back to the space that they once were a part of, and which they'll always be a part of, is our dance company, and we're very honored for that to have former dancers that continue to invite us into their communities. And it was also interesting too that we were able to make a bit of a family connection too. When Delia reached out to the dance company, she had the opportunity to speak to my cook-up trays because although she's 94, she's still very active in her dance company. She does take bookings for us often and reaches out to me so that I can coordinate it. But when she spoke to Delia, she had found out that my late Mushroom Ken, his older brother, Sam, his wife, Marianne, was Delia's aunt. So we made that connection there, so kinship and family, which is really important. It's always important to make those connections, and regardless if you're from a different First Nations or Métis community, there's always kinship to each other. There's always a relative or a way we can make connection. We always know somebody who knows somebody, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about being in Indian country is that you always have a relative or a family member close at hand. And so what we're going to do now is our final performance. And this dance is one of our most popular dances. We get a lot of requests for this one. It's one of our, our most high energy performances. And it's where we say that you get an opportunity to see some of the fastest feet in Saskatchewan. And the dance that's going to be performed is the Orange Blossom Special. And so, like I mentioned earlier, I encourage you, if you are enjoying the show, if you like what you see, clap, cheer, because the louder you are, the faster these dancers will dance. And like I mentioned again, it's a good energy exchange between us. And it truly is an honor to be able to be in your community, amongst your kayak, your elders, and your knowledge keepers, and to share our love for dance, and to come and bring some good energy and some healing to you all today. Okay, now we're ready to go, Orange Blossom Special, and like I said, if you like what you see, clap, cheer, the dancers will dance harder. It's an opportunity to see the fastest feet in Saskatchewan.